dangerous. So another one, carfentanil. Sometimes people ask me, what is carfentanil? So there's two ways of spelling it. There's two spellings on it, fentanyl and carfentanil. So carfentanil is extremely even more powerful than fentanyl. So sometimes this is the question that's asked, what is carfentanil? So it's a synthetic medication to put big animals to sleep. Elephants, rhinoceroses, horses, whales, cattle. Carfentanil is primarily used by veterinarians. Do we have any questions so far? So that's what carfentanil is used for. To sedate big animals like elephants, rhinoceroses, horses, whales, cattle. So the gentleman's question was carfentanil, how many times is more toxic than regular fentanyl? So we'll look at that next few pages. How strong is carfentanil compared to fentanyl? I can give you the answer. It's 10,000 times more toxic than regular fentanyl. So you can just imagine the scale, how powerful carfentanil is compared to fentanyl. And this is on the street. Organized crime got a hold of it. So again, we're going to learn how organized crime got a hold of fentanyl and carfentanil. I did my very careful and just so I can try to educate people, because I love my native people. They've been through a lot, our people have been through so much. I've been called all kinds of names. I've been called a greasy Indian, no, you're no good welfare Indian. You name it, and we go through that. Our people go through that all the time. So even if I see a homeless native person, I take the time to say hi, or sometimes I give them a couple of dollars in case they want coffee, But our people have been through a lot, and I don't label them, oh, this is your fault. No, that's, goes way back. So this is your question. How strong is carfentanil? Carfentanil is 10,000 times more potent than morphine and 100 times more potent than fentanyl. Remember, carfentanil kind of is like, people can mistake it, like, it comes in powder, cocaine, or heroin. So it resembles all those things. So be careful. If you ever come across something you don't know what it is, just be careful. if you suspect the presence of carfentanil or in the synthetic opioid, please do not try and take samples. That's what I was saying. Don't try and take samples. Call 911, and the police usually have a number of tools that they can use. Of course, they have all these outfits that that we don't have. So just be careful. So accidental exposure, it makes the risk to overdose, even if we then, for example, workers, even if we don't intend, even if we don't use, we could accidentally do something and we can be exposed to it and we can overdose. So what forms does fentanyl come? Patches. Sometimes in a hospital, right? They give you these patches in the hospital. That's where the homeless people, they first found out, about 20 years ago or so, 25 years ago, the hospital was disposing patches into the garbage. And like I said, people are smart. These homeless people, they begin to experiment. They begin to use these patches, and they got a high. And of course, news gets out right away, pretty fast in a community. So they started using patches to get a high. Injections, as I was showing, injections, and these people are not doctors, right? They're not nurses. How do they know, how much they're giving a person, and these people can overdose. Lozenges. Nasal spray. Usually, I'll show you what it looks like. I'll show you how they do it. I was telling one of these ladies here that my mother-in-law was dying from lung failure. So the doctor prescribed fentanyl, and my wife is a nurse, so she's qualified to prescribe the fentanyl. So she would give her mother 0.5 milligram of fentanyl. But so this is sometimes this is how it comes, goes like that. If you can see it, that's what happens. So my wife was giving her mom 0.5 milligram of fentanyl under her tongue, and then when she got worse, she gave her 1 milligram. So if I use 1 milligram, or if you use 1 milligram, it would kill you right away. The fentanyl would kill you right away. So people get used to it. They have a tolerance. So over the month that my mother-in-law was sick, my wife was giving her more and more fentanyl, prescribed by the doctor. So it's a real dangerous drug, but like I said, it was meant for medical use. Now I lost my found it. found it. So fentanyl has been around for a long time, since 1959, under the patent company Janssen Pharmaceutical. So street fentanyl is non-pharmaceutical. So this is what we're, mainly focusing on, street fentanyl, because it's killing our people left and right. Like I said, even in my community, there's overdoses there every week. So fentanyl, it enters Canada and communities in many ways. Illegal import from other countries, mainly China. In China, they can make fentanyl legally. So we're going to be looking at a chart, a map. So theft of medical fentanyl, people stealing medical fentanyl and using it on the street. So mainly skin patches, people use that. They smoke that, patches. So my question, how do they mix fentanyl with other drugs? This is very dangerous. As I was saying, this young man that I grew up with when we were young, he got into pills and Tylenol 3s, benzos, volumes. He used to like taking volumes. Volumes give you a happy feeling, like euphoria. So about 20 years ago or so, I told him one time, I said, one day you're going to overdose on something. And he laughed at me. So about a couple of years ago, he overdosed on something. He died at home. So his wife called 911. They picked him up. So they did an autopsy. They found that he overdosed on something. So they went back to the house, and so they asked his wife, "What did he take?" Yes, we found fentanyl in his system. So she said he took Tylenol 3. Can we have the bottle? They still have the bottle. Well, I still got the pills. So she gave him the pills. They took that pills back to the lab. They were mixed with fentanyl. And that's what killed him. So if you ever, like I said, find something, Tylenol 3s, just dispose of them. Dispose of any medication laying around. You don't know where it's been. You don't know where it came from. Sometimes I see pills on the street, and I always think about that. Like that we don't know where this medication came from. So don't touch it. Just be careful. So. Maybe we can have a discussion here. How do you think, what are your thoughts? It's always good to get somebody's thoughts. Like, I used to work in a treatment center. Every time people came, my clients, I would ask them, "Hey, what's the street name for, meth?" So they would give me a street name, right? So I would always write it down. So they have street names for fentanyl. but it's always nice to ask people, what are your thoughts? How do they mix? Uh, because I don't know everything. I don't know everything. It's always nice to get feedback from professionals, and some of you work in the office. But what are your thoughts on how do they mix fentanyl into Tylenol 3s? How do they mix fentanyl into cocaine? How do they mix fentanyl into marijuana? So take 5 minutes and let's see what you come up with. How do they mix fentanyl into these many form of drugs? So you have a discussion, and 5 minutes I'll give you. Okay, are we all done? Okay, I got my. We're gonna be drug dealers, me and Joan. Okay, come over here. She has a good plan, but I got a better plan. Okay, here's my marijuana. I forgot my. Like I said, I forgot my pills in my truck. They're really smarties, but we got our marijuana here. So me and her, we're gonna be. She wants a grinder, but I got a better plan though. Okay, we got our marijuana there all set up there. Now we're gonna make it stronger. We're gonna make our marijuana stronger. So me and her, every time she gives you some marijuana, you give her $1. Just kidding. Okay, I got the fentanyl in here. This is just water. So I got the fentanyl in here. Now I'm gonna mix the marijuana now with fentanyl, so you can get a bigger high. So of course they got bigger machines, right? I got just a spray here, but them they got bigger machines, right, to mix the fentanyl into these drugs. Like I said, I don't know everything, but this is just one example how they do it. So fentanyl, street marijuana, not the medical marijuana, but the street. We're talking about street drugs, street marijuana. Now, our marijuana is mixed with fentanyl. So I'm going to send my drug dealer out, and she's going to be selling the marijuana here. So now you each have marijuana laced with fentanyl. But I'd like to hear from members. What did you come up with? Because it's always nice to learn new things. Like Joan said, that they came up with these people crush the pills and they mix the fentanyl in there. And people have good ideas because people have different ideas, people have different approaches. So I like to hear from people what's your thoughts on how they mix it, because there's more than one way of doing things. Like, people do things different ways. So it's really interesting to learn from people, like, how your thoughts on how these things are done, like, because I'm here to learn too from the community, but it's always nice to hear from people, like, what are your thoughts? So I'll let Joan talk about her group here, and she'll explain what their thoughts on how people mix fentanyl into drugs. So I'll give you Joan.
Well, they crush the fentanyl, the Tylenol, the meth, and the crack cocaine or cocaine. They crush them up, they grind them up, and they cook it after. Sometimes you'll find when crack, it's shiny and everything, possible that it's got crystal meth in its batch. By the time it gets to Canada, it's mixed with so many stuff, different kind of chemicals. But by the time it gets to Norway House Cremation, it's already mixed with fentanyl, meth, different kind of how substances are mixed together. So basically, that's what we came up with. And with marijuana, that's why people grind their marijuana to make it fine, and then they put the marijuana is laced with PCP, meth, fentanyl, and it's that's how they make you want to buy it. It's because they have all those different substances mixed together. And the more high you get, the more you want to buy. That's it.
Thank you. So it's always good to hear in different individuals, like what their thoughts are, like or sometimes people know things, which is good, like which is really good. And she's right, meth. We're going to be looking at meth tomorrow, and meth, like they mix all kinds of garbage in there. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. But getting back with fentanyl, these gentlemen here, what did you come up with your thoughts? How do they mix fentanyl into these drugs? What are your thoughts? Did you come up with anything? Yeah, they had the same idea, which is which is true. Like in today in today's society, they experiment, they keep on mixing all kinds of garbage in there. It's not street marijuana anymore. It's mixed in with all kinds of stuff in there, all kinds of garbage. So this is why I always tell young people, your first time using can be your last time. So it's a real dangerous game that they play. So it's really nice to be careful. Just be careful. So maybe we'll break for lunch now, and we'll resume at 1 o'clock, and we'll continue with discussing fentanyl. So we'll break for lunch, and I'll see you at 1 o'clock. All right, Egose. I guess lunch will be provided here. So we'll have lunch here. And if you have any questions, by all means, you can approach me, and I'll be more than happy to try and answer your question. So I guess we'll get started with our workshop here. So before our lunch break, we were discussing how they mix fentanyl with other drugs. So some of you had pretty good ideas. Like, it's always nice to learn new things and to hear people's thoughts. So I like that. Like, some of you had some really good ideas, and I never know, maybe I'll incorporate it in my next session. So then you can say, hey, that was my idea. So anyway, I always say, remember that any form of opioids from anyone, it might be mixed with fentanyl. Sometimes people have a headache, and sometimes somebody will say to you, hey, I got a T3. It's best not to take it because, you don't know where they got it from. For example, I went to a show one time. I'm kind of like a joker. I found, I'm so stupid too. Like, I found a candy on the floor, and my friend was next to me. Hey, I said, you want a candy? So he said, sure. Then he puts it in his mouth. But that was just as a joke. But, what if that was a pillow? Or, like, what if it was laced with something, right? So, like, sometimes we do stupid things. So anyway, fentanyl and other synthetic opioids are the most common for drug users to overdose on the street. Even a very small amount would be fatal. Some of you may know, like fentanyl, 2 grains of salt, can kill somebody. 2 grains of salt. So just imagine how powerful it is. And it takes 15 minutes, 15 minutes for somebody to expire from an overdose. So you can just imagine how fast it works. As I was saying, and this is medical, like, medical fentanyl. When you go for an operation, they inject that thing in a tube, and they tell you to count to 10. Just imagine how fast it works. For me, I only counted up to 4 when I had my operation. My wife is a nurse, and she told me, count to 10. So I was going 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that was it. So that's how fast that thing works. So just imagine when somebody's overdosing, then 15 minutes, they'll die. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, if you don't believe me, do the research yourself. I didn't come here to lie to you. I didn't come here, I still do know a lot of things. But why I'm here is because of prevention, to try and prevent, to try and save a life. These users, to try to save a life. Because, we all love each other in the community. In my community too, as I was saying a couple of weeks ago, a young girl died in my community. And I really loved her. Like, she used to come to my house. I used to tease her. And she would always have lipstick on. So my wife and myself, we used to tell her, oh, you're beautiful. She used to laugh. And, a couple of weeks ago, she overdosed. And they were doing an autopsy. I don't know what the outcome was, but she overdosed on something. And it's sad. And about a month before that, she had a baby. Now the baby is going to grow up without a mother. So this was I was saying, please note, your first time could be the last time. Sometimes young people, they try something, their first time, their last time. So why is fentanyl so dangerous? So fentanyl is 20 to 40 times more toxic than heroin. Heroin, as I was saying, there's morphine mixed in there. It's mainly for people who have cancer. That's why they have heroin. Morphine is for people who have cancer. And people who have cancer, as you all know, you probably know somebody that had cancer, they're in a lot of pain, eh? So they usually use morphine on them. I never forget my brother. He had cancer, and he was in a lot of pain, and that's what they gave him, morphine. And I never forget that, all the pain he had. So heroin and toxic than heroin, and it 50 to 100 times more toxic than morphine. So heroin and morphine, they kind of go together. It's kind of the same drug. When fentanyl is combined with other opioids like heroin, morphine, methadone, or cocaine, alcohol, benzodiazepines, or cocaine, or other methamphetamines, it can further the risk of an accidental overdose. And that happens. As I demonstrated for the ones that weren't here, we had a demonstration that how they mix fentanyl with other opioids. And, but organized crime, they have these big pumps, and they go around pumping fentanyl into these plants to make them more lethal, more addictive. So, when they're pumping that thing, they don't know how much they're putting there, because they're not doctors. They're just drug dealers trying to make money. They don't care about the public. It's all about money. How many agree? I agree. It's all about money. They don't care about anybody. That's why I live an honest life. I go to work, and I also go and play music, trying to survive, trying to make an honest living. So I do a lot of things in between, I go and do recording in the studio. I do workshops. So it's important for me to try and be a role model as an Aboriginal person. And when I do go out someplace, I try and dress appropriately to try and be a role model for my people. And being sober all the time is important to me. That's why I never choose to drink alcohol when I was younger. But I'm not running down our people. But I was saying, our people have problems, and it's not their fault. It's what happened the last 500 years, last 200 years, all the abuse that's happened to our people. So, it's time to wake up and, let's change our communities. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, change, to try and change, to try and better my people, that they've been through so much. So where was I? It's also important to be aware that drugs can, other than fentanyl, can also be lethal, and that there is no quality control or a regulation manufacture process for illegal drugs. You know, that's what I was saying. There's no guarantee that, oh yeah, this one is safe, or this one is safe. There's no guarantee. Like, there's no such thing as this one is safe, or that one is safe. We just don't know, right? So again, what makes fentanyl so dangerous? So we kind of went over this. It is 20 to 40 times more potent than heroin, and 100 times more potent than morphine. So it is odorless and tasteless. You can't taste it. You can't taste fentanyl, and you can't smell it. That's why it makes it so dangerous. So you may not even know that you're taking it. You know, sometimes people accidentally take it. They don't intend to take it, but accidentally they do take it. And they don't know. And then they overdose, right? So now when it can be mixed with other drugs, it's easy. You know, fentanyl is very, very easy to mix into other drugs. And it happens. So here's a map here. As I was saying, fentanyl is manufactured in China legally. They can make all the fentanyl they want in China. But not only fentanyl, but opioids. They can make them legal in China legally. And this is how it comes across. Here's China over here to Vancouver. Prince George. I went to Prince George. I went and played music there. So not too far from there, there's the ocean, right? Vancouver. A lot of you have probably been in Vancouver also. You can see the ocean. The ocean is right there. So that's how far it is. 8,370 kilometers. That's about 500 miles, I would say. In miles, about 500 miles. That's why there's a high number of overdoses in Vancouver, because they're smuggling the fentanyl into Vancouver. We hear of all the overdoses, the opioid crisis in Vancouver. Easy access, right, to get fentanyl, because that's where it's coming from, China to Vancouver or Prince George. There's a big problem in Vancouver regarding the overdoses. You know, if you listen to the news, then, you know, that's most of the time that's what they talk about, the crisis in Vancouver. Any questions? So once it gets to my colleague was saying that once it comes to Vancouver, then it starts coming across, right, to Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. Then, of course, it keeps on going Toronto, then to Nova Scotia that way, New Brunswick. So the Canadian authorities, they know that fentanyl is being imported from China, but they can't stop it. Like, because you know, I guess it's a lot of work. I'm sure they can't check every ship. Even if they do check the ships, the cargo, it's usually put into furniture or inside televisions. So they can't be opening everything, right? I'm sure it's a big job, but of course they have dogs too, right? So, it must be a big job. So either way, this drug keeps on coming, coming. But not only that way, we hear there was a big drug bust. Some drugs came by plane. Did anybody hear that in the news? That there was boxes and boxes of drugs that came on the plane, Canada Airline. I think it was a WestJet. But that's one of the factories in China that make the fentanyl. So as I was saying, that they can make fentanyl legally over there, or in Canada and the United States, they have all these rules, regulations, but over there, there's, they can make it as much as they want. So again, this is what fentanyl looks like. But it comes in many forms. Don't get fooled by that. It comes in many, many forms. It could come in liquid. It can also come in pills, patches. But in this form, it's powder, and it looks like cocaine. And you see in the bottom here? That's what they make fentanyl out of. Those flowers are called poppy flowers. You see those two men there? What they're doing is they go around destroying the flowers. So nobody can use them for that reason, right? So in China, usually sometimes men, they go around destroying the flowers. So we don't have these flowers in Canada. They don't grow here. Only in China that they grow. Some other ones grow in Mexico, but these are not the ones. These ones can only be found in Asia. So here's a clip regarding fentanyl.
List.
It's one of the most potent narcotics on the market and highly addictive. The fast-acting painkiller is prescribed for soothing. Fentanyl is killing Canadians at an alarming rate. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid.
Maybe we can get one of the technicians to help us. Just where we have a technical difficulty here. That's why we have techs. How do I put the thing? Let's see.
Fentanyl is killing Canadians at an alarming rate. In British Columbia and Alberta alone, the number of deaths linked to the drug surged from 42 in 2012 to 418 in 2015. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid painkiller. It's one of the most potent narcotics on the market and highly addictive. The fast-acting painkiller is prescribed for severe and chronic pain. Prescription fentanyl comes in the form of tablets, a nasal spray, and lozenges, but the most popular form is a patch that releases the drug slowly over 3 days. These patches can be abused by scraping out the gel contents and eating or smoking the entire dose all at once to get high. Fentanyl's potency is so deadly, it can be up to 100 times more toxic than the same amount of morphine, and up to 50 times more toxic than heroin. As little as 2 milligrams of powdered or illicit fentanyl can cause an overdose and death. That's about the same amount as 2 grains of salt. Fentanyl owes its rise to the legacy of OxyContin. The popular brand name prescription painkiller was taken off the market in 2012 after reports of addiction and overdoses exploded. According to police, it's the rise of illicit fentanyl, often manufactured by chemists in China and processed by dealers for street sale in Canada, that is increasingly leading to overdose deaths. As illicit fentanyl takes the place of oxy, it is often cut into other drugs like heroin or pressed into fake oxy tablets. When it's cut into other drugs, it's easy to get the dosage wrong. Imagine a batch of cookies with an uneven number of chocolate chips in one cookie versus the rest. Sometimes the fentanyl is mixed into other drugs secretly to make them more powerful, and that significantly raises the risk of overdose or death.
That's one of the clips regarding fentanyl. So, any questions on that clip there? Any questions? So this is what I was saying, that street names. They have all these code names on the street. And the reason I know, I used to work in a treatment center, and I would ask people, like every time I had new clients, hey, what's the street name for fentanyl? So here are some of the street names that they gave me. So those are some of the names that they gave me. You know, I'm sure that there's more now because every year or every month they add new names. Uh, they have their own names, I guess, because of the police, maybe. Greenies, Fake Oxy, 80s, Shady 80s, China Girl, Great Bear, Apples, Dance Fever. So I got these names from people coming in for treatment. And, you know, these are really nice people. Very nice people, very nice to talk to, funny. Some of them are really smart. They're very smart. Some of them are very talented. They're very good musicians. Yeah, and but sometimes they just get into the wrong things for a number of reasons. For example, myself, I was kidnapped from the hospital when I was 8 years old by two nuns. And that did something to me psychologically. And I was kidnapped by two nuns from the hospital, and they told me, "You're going home." And they didn't take my hand. They grabbed me by the wrist, and they went and threw me in a car, and they drove me to a residential school. The funny thing is I never talk about it to with my siblings or my mother or my father. I've never mentioned it. I was there for about a month, and a nurse came and got me. And she was so mad, and she cried all the way home back to the hospital. I could see her crying. And then she bought me, I remember what she bought me. She bought me a bag of chips, barbecue chips. And she bought me a drink. And I even remember what kind of car we were driving. We were driving a 64 Comet. And that did something to me psychologically. After I went back to my community, I was really bad because they abused me at the residential school, the nuns. I got a big scar on my back. They hit me with a big yardstick. That yardstick had a blade on it. And anyway, I used to have all these bad dreams. Still today, 60 years later, I still have that dream. Not every night, but every 6 months, every 5 months. My dream is I'm locked up someplace and I can't get out. And that's what they did to me. They locked me up in this little, I guess it must have been a closet, I guess. And it was dark in there. I stood there, I kid you not, about 5-6 hours, bare naked. I had no clothes on. And I just stood there. And I was, getting tired of standing up. And so anyway, when I was growing up, I was really bad, 10, 11. I never listened. I never listened to the teacher. When I was about 16, I started drinking. And I was bad. I was really bad. And I would always try and provoke somebody. Just so I can fight. And like I said, there was something wrong with me up here. So anyway, what happened was I was working, then I played music, and then that kind of made me feel better playing music. And I used to drink. Then I had kids. I had a child. So I was thinking, like, I don't want my child to happen, anything to happen to my child. Like, I had good parents. That wasn't their fault that I got taken from the hospital. That wasn't their fault. I was sick. I had rheumatic fever. And then it attacked my heart, and that's why I was in the hospital. But like I said, I was bad because I had all these, I guess, scars, invisible scars, mentally. So I used to go and drink. And I can see my people on the street. Just imagine if you see somebody on the street, right? They're there for a reason. Like, where have they been? What happened to them? They're there for a reason. Something happened to them. So anyway, I had my first child. Then that's when I quit drinking. I decided not to drink anymore. I put it away, and I haven't touched alcohol since then. But that's what happened in my life, so I can relate to these street people. What happened to them? Something had to happen to them. Go back and think about your life, you might have done something, but you did it for a reason. Something had to happen to you when you were a child. Oh, we forgot green apples. That's another name they gave me. Beans. So I kind of added that on there. Fentanyl, making a killing. You see up here, all those pills. When you flip them around, they say CDN. And how they make them, organized crime, they have pill machines. So they mix, they have a big board. They mix all the fentanyl in there with other stuff. Sometimes they use icing sugar to coat it. So the green stuff, they add green there. I don't quite know how they do it, but they mix all the fentanyl in there, any old way. So they gather up the powder, they put it in the pill machine. And that pill machine can make 5,000 pills in 1 hour. 5,000. So sometimes you hear in the news, these people got caught with 2 machines. So two machines can make 10,000 pills in 1 hour. And they have bags and bags of pills, right? Of course, money, right? Drugs, they always come with money. Big cities. Of course, the drug itself, fentanyl. So here's another clip here about people overdosing.
Three people in 2 days dead from a bad mix of drugs.
Police in southwest suburban Joliet say they are warning drug users about fentanyl now being added to cocaine. CBS 2's Charlie DeMar showing us the deadly mix.
It's all about money.
Right.
They don't care about anybody they're selling it to.
That greed now linked to 6 overdoses, including 3 deaths in Joliet alone since Sunday. Police suspect a concoction of fentanyl-laced cocaine.
He was a good kid, and they were good neighbors.
A fragment of frayed police tape still strung outside the home on Landau Avenue, where a 40-year-old father was found dead. Paramedics saved another man found unconscious inside the same home.
And as we're seeing with these recent deaths, fentanyl is the type of substance that you can overdose very quickly on and can cause death almost instantly.
Jim Scarpace's Gateway Foundation provides drug and alcohol treatment in Joliet and throughout the state.
And I think as people are becoming more weary and worried about fentanyl and some of these synthetic opiates, they're switching from substances like heroin to cocaine, thinking that they can still feed their illness, if you will, and manage it with other substances.
But the deadly combination of cocaine and fentanyl killed 2 more Tuesday on Bridge Street, leaving another 2 in critical condition.
I gotta say, whoever's doing it, I hope they give them a lot of time.
And Joliet police are trying to find the source of where this fentanyl-laced cocaine came from. The idea, of course, is to try and prevent this supplier from pumping even more drugs into this community. In Joliet, Charlie DeMar, CBS 2 News.
So some of the examples regarding overdoses. There's a lot, and like I said, not just in cities, but in our communities, in my community, and Lakes Martin. Lakes Martin is pretty bad for drug abuse, and I'm sure it is here too. I know it's all over. But, we'll take a 15-minute break, and like I said, if you have any questions, by all means, I'll be more than happy to try and answer your questions. So fentanyl overdose on the rise. So I'll give the speaker to my colleague here for a minute, and he can elaborate a little bit on the stuff that he has, the kits that he has, and maybe he can hand out some stuff, some info. So here's Christopher.
Alan. Thank you. Sometimes what happens is somebody's using drugs, fentanyl, anything like that. Sometimes what happens at home is they overdose, and a good thing to have is two things. You have these Narcan, things that you use for the nose. You just spray into the nose, okay? And if somebody's overdosing, what this does is it reverses when you overdose, it reverses the whole what do you call it? When they're overdosing, it just reverses it, and you can use that one. There's also another kit that you can use. This one is a needle in needle form. You have to load up that needle, and you give the needle. In our demonstrations at work, there used to be an actual nurse coming in to show us how to use them properly, and usually the needle is given on the arm right here. Okay, so if you have that kit, and if you know how to administer syringe needle, then it's fine for you to use. Like, I don't think you have to be qualified to use that in that kit, and this one as well. I had an open one, but I don't know what I did with it. I'll open this one. How many of you ever seen this kit before? Usually, I went to the pharmacy before I came here, and I asked my pharmacist to see if it's okay if I could have one of these. So he gave me this one. This is a whole kit. There's 2 in there, okay? And then it shows you exactly how you can do it, and it's right here. If you want to have a look at it, I'll pass it around. There's 2 of them, so I'll pass those around, and you can have a look. Okay, we'll start. I'll give some over here. So the next kit that I have is a naloxone one. That's the one that has the syringe in it. Okay, how many of you seen this one? I think usually they'd be available, not available, but the nurses at the nursing station, or if you have a hospital here? Yeah. Okay. Usually in the ER they would have these things. If somebody was brought in overdosed, they'll give them one of these, or her. Okay. I also have some. Wait, I need my glasses. Can't see. Okay, this one is know the signs of an opioid overdose. This is just a little information thingy that you can have. I brought a few of them. My niece, who works for one of the southern organizations, I went shopping in her where she works. Took a whole box full of stuff, and I brought them. and I brought them here. This is, all this is just this thing. Okay, it folds up and you can keep it somewhere in your home or wherever. So what I'll do is I'll just give these out. I'll take those other ones back if you're done looking at them. Could I just do another minute? We were talking about how alcohol, has played a major part in people who use alcohol. When I was young, I was cutting wood with my brother. I was sawing the wood, and he was taking them, and he was chopping them. So I noticed, we lived in Lake St. Martin that time. I noticed this van coming down our driveway. It's a long driveway. I don't know what that white van was. We never seen it before in the community. And all of a sudden, my mom yells out to us. She said, "Come in here." So we went into our house. She says, "You're going to school." Of course, that was something new to me. I never heard that before because we went to school there and we didn't seem to have problems going to school in Lake St. Martin. But she said, "You're going to school." So the white van took us away. And I noticed they were going towards Saging that way because I've been there before. I had relatives up in the whole river. Took us to Saging, and then I realized we're going to residential school. I didn't know what residential school was till I walked into the doorway at the residential school. We were met by these nuns, and it looked so scary. We were scared. We didn't know who these people were. Never seen nuns before in our lives. So we got led into there, and then we met another man. Was dressed up like a woman. Well, he had a long, what do you call it, on? And he took us in to the office and he was talking to us. And then that was the start of me being in a residential school for 7 years. So every year it was a real hardship to be in there. We used to get punished. Some of the boys were even molested by the priests. All kinds of things like that happened in that school. And I know Norman told you a little bit about his experience. Even one form of punishment that I seem to recall was that if we did something wrong, boy, we would get it. We used to have this, how a goalie stick looks like in hockey, right? They used to cut off the foot of the goalie stick, and that was his paddle for him to use on us. So we would get that beating every so often, and it wasn't very nice. Of course, I was being a bad guy all the time in school. Didn't want to listen to anybody. I used to hate being there. So we'd get a regular beating, and just some of the examples of when I got out of school. When I finally turned 16, they sort of kicked us out into the world, back to the parents, I guess. So then that started me off. I had to do something. I wasn't old enough to buy liquor, but I'd be at the liquor commission with my little $10, and somebody would go in and ask them, "Is it okay if you buy me a bottle of wine?" Most times they didn't want to take a chance and buy wine for us, So we'd wait there, and occasionally the guy will say, "Okay, I'll go get you a bottle." Goes in, comes out, "Here you go." Of course, that's how we all started drinking. So a lot of residential school survivors turned their life into that, alcohol abuse. Some of them drank themselves, till the day that they died. With me, everything was different from the way we hear it all the time. So, but I'll talk about that later on, maybe tomorrow, or was it Wednesday? I'm on here. Wake up, boy. Okay, Wednesday, yeah. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit more about that Wednesday. Thank you for listening.
So that's what those kits look like. And as he was saying, they probably have those at your hospital here. And if somebody's overdosing, like I said, call 911 right away. You don't have much time when somebody's overdosing. You don't have very much time. So please call 911, or you can have those kits, those Narcan or naloxone, one of the two. If you can have one of those, it'd be great. So fentanyl overdose is on a rise, as we explained. How powerful and potent fentanyl is. So fentanyl, a person can easily overdose on fentanyl. Now I can't see the board. An overdose occurs when the drug produces a serious adverse effects on a life-threatening symptoms. Death from an opioid overdose can happen when the drug depresses the part of the brain that controls breathing. So what happens is one of the reasons why it's so dangerous, because sometimes I ask my wife, because they work on this stuff all day, fentanyl. They use this stuff all day. They do operations all day. So every single day they use this, and I usually ask her why it's so dangerous, and so she told me that it lowers the blood pressure. So of course, this is in the hospital, and they have these monitors, so they know exactly when the blood pressure is falling. So once it falls so low, then they inject them with Norcan to bring the blood pressure back up. So, but this is in the hospital, right? So they know what they're doing. Where on the street, these people, these drug users, organized crime, they don't know what they're doing. They're not probably even qualified to try and help a dog. They just do things any old way to try and make money, right? So there's a difference between medical fentanyl and street fentanyl. Street fentanyl is, very, very dangerous to fool around with. So in these cases, these organized crime or even drug users, they don't know what they're taking. So signs and symptoms when people overdose on opioids, including their face becomes extremely pale. Oh, that's better. Or feels clammy to the touch. The body goes limp. their fingernails or lips are purple or blue color. They start vomiting or making gargling noises. They cannot be awakened, are unable to speak. You know, I actually never seen anyone overdosing, but as I was saying, I worked at a treatment center. And you would not believe some of the people that come in there, the condition that they're in. Some people, they're about 40. But when you look at them, they're about 60. They look about 60. And then they tell you, I'm only 40, I'm only 35. And you get a big shock, like, really? And it's amazing what the changes that somebody can have because of drugs. So what we can do, see, there are some of the kits that my colleague showed you, naloxone kits and Narcan. The kits, so when somebody's overdosing, stay calm. Sometimes sometimes we don't know what to do. I know at the moment, sometimes we get a shock. So we can't really stop anybody from using drugs. Maybe I'll let Alan here explain some of the stuff that he's seen in a treatment center where people graduated, and next thing you know, he goes outside and they're doing drugs. So I'll let Alan explain all that.
So I guess a lot of this clients coming into our addiction center. Before that, I just want to talk just briefly what happened before that. I was a school teacher, I was telling you this morning, and I used to teach with the Winnipeg School Division, and in there, you get all kinds of kids coming in, and sometimes family services would come in and literally, ask you if it's okay if we're going to take this child, we want to speak to this child. So they take her out in the hallway. Next thing you know, they're taking this child away. So along the lines of that, we were the outreach counselors where we worked, and people would come in, register to start a program. Ours was a 4-week program. I think you guys did the intake for years upstairs, right? I think most of the clients that were upstairs, they come from out of town, like different communities. So we used to have people coming in from different First Nations communities, and they would go to NACM to go do a 6-week program. But our program, they'd come in and we'd take them, and again, a lot of reasons why these clients were in our program. I guess one of the main reasons, I should say, is that their kids were apprehended. And what they had to do was they had to sit in that 4-week program and make sure that they graduated and have their certificate to take with them to CFS to show them that they did their part. Now CFS supposedly supposed to do their part and let the kids come home. Follow up, of course, we used to have them come in once a week to come and make sure that everything was okay. Okay, but I forget the reason why Norman wanted me up here again. Was that it? Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember some of the people that come into our programs, boy, they were in rough shape. You know, they've been using alcohol, drugs, and whatever. We didn't find out until they come in to talk to us. And, you know, struggling through the program the whole 4 weeks was really a hardship on some of the clients that come in there. Like he said, there was people that were 30 years old, but they looked like they were 60 years old, you know, because of constant use of whatever it is they were doing. And, you know, they struggled, and you know, they worked on what they needed to work on in that 4-week program. And at the end of it, they were pretty happy that they were able to graduate. And it looked different. They were more, you know, they were happy, they were laughing. So when they left, they left on a really good note. However, sometimes we have the graduation upstairs, and yeah, we made a big event out of it. We had tables like this set out and tablecloths on them, and you know, we'd have a big meal. They'd cook a big meal for them downstairs and bring it upstairs. And so they were happy to graduate, just all gung-ho, you know, they were happy. I went outside. I don't know what purpose I went outside for. Oh, I had to speak to one of the clients that was outside. Went out there. There was two ladies were so out there just smoking up after they were done their programming. I don't know what the purpose of them being upstairs for 6 weeks was, but you know, of course, they probably ended up back in some sort of program anyway. But that's you know, some of the things that happened at the addiction center. All right.
I found that hilarious. We were talking about that on the way up yesterday, and because I seen it too, because you know, I go and play nightclubs, and then but I don't usually talk to those people. Like, you know, sometimes I would see them there. They just graduated, and then I go and play sometimes in a nightclub, and oh, they're just drunk. But they got, as long as they have that piece of paper. But we were talking was, you can't change somebody that's not ready to change. They have to be willing to change. You know, you can talk to them all you want. If they don't want to change, then they're not going to change. So that's what we were talking about yesterday. So he was talking about at the treatment center, he went out and these people are just smoking up, right? And we were laughing, and you know, it's true. That happens. I've seen it, and the only reason that they go into treatment because Child and Family forces them, well, you have to go for treatment, otherwise you won't get your kids. So how many seen that? Like, you know, I've seen it, like, you know, and it's sad, but it's always good to put the information out there. Maybe one day, you know, they'll stop and think about it. For example, my brother, he was an alcoholic, and he drank all the time. And when I went to his house, you know, his the walls will be broken, the windows were broken. And I used to talk to him while he was older, and I used to ask him, why do you drink? And he'd always tell me, I like it. And but I was saying, something must have happened to him too. Like, he drank for a reason probably, because we all go through hard times, but something must have happened to him too. Like myself, I never told anybody that I was kidnapped, and that really bothered me for years and years. And that even today, like, I get these bad dreams, and over again, my dream is I'm locked up someplace and I can't get out. So anyway, safety tips when people are on drugs. We can't stop them. So at least we can tell them. They probably won't listen, but at least we can tell them. Don't use when you're alone, right? Again, this know your source, which is probably not true, Know your source, even if you know somebody. They don't care. It's all about money. Mixing substances, including alcohol, increase the risk of overdose. Like I said, I've seen it. I've seen people taking a bottle of pills like nothing. Just chewing them, taking them. I've seen it. I've seen that part. So if you ever see somebody overdosing, call 911. I'm sure the police have those kits too. I'm sure they have. If somebody's overdosing, you don't have too much time. So do you have any questions so far? No questions all day. So as we discussed all day, fentanyl is laced with other drugs. This is why it's dangerous to. This is why it is dangerous to use any form of drugs. Whether it's Tylenol 3s, Gabbies, or even street marijuana. As we demonstrated today, fentanyl can be mixed in there. So he didn't know his cocaine was cut with fentanyl. And we were saying fentanyl can come in many, many forms, not just liquid. It could come in powder form. It can come in pill form. So that concludes this part of our presentation. We still have a half hour to go. If you want to, does anybody have an exercise that we can do? Any volunteers? Okay, I have
Okay, just before we leave this part of it, I just want to say that there's not always doom and gloom when we're talking about clients coming in, clients losing their kids, clients going back to using drugs, alcohol. There is success stories, that I've sort of documented when I was working as an addictions counselor. If we see, we were told somewhere, if we see a client, let's say we were walking around inside Dollarama. If you see a client, you recognize them, don't talk to them, we were told, as counselors. The reason for that is in case there's with somebody that somebody didn't know they were in our addiction center, that she was dealing with something. I guess that was the reason why. But there's success stories. Sometimes you see one of my clients out and about where sometimes when I go out and to stores or whatever, they see you, they recognize you, and they're so happy to see you. They say, "Hi, Alan, and you know, I'm doing this now. I have my kids at home, so we're happy," and you know, things like that. I met another couple over at the another Dollarama. I guess that's where I shop, but that's where I seen another lady and her husband. They were in the program together. I remember them, and I didn't talk to them right away. They recognized me, so I acknowledged them. I talked to them and said, "You know what? We're happy. We got our child back." And guess what? We even bought a dog. You know, so they were telling me stuff like that. So it's a happy ending there, and you know, so it's not all doom and gloom. I guess that's just what the message that I want to pass on right now. Okay, thank you.
So I'll tell you a funny one. When I was working for Child and Family Services, like I said, I played nightclubs since I was 16 years old, and that was one of the ways that I made money. So I became a social worker, and of course I had kids in my caseload, and I never seen the parents. So one time I was working at playing music at the Westbrook, kind of a rough nightclub. So this woman kept on calling me. So I said hi to her, and she said, "Come here." And then she was trying to, you know, go out with me. "Oh, you're so handsome." I said, "Oh, you just drank too much." So anyway, she kept on bugging me. All night she was bugging me. So I went to work out on Monday, but she asked me, what's your name? I said, "My name is Willie." "Willie what?" "Willie Cantu." So anyway, oh, okay. So anyway, that Monday, at work, the phone rings. I guess she's asking for her worker. That's me. Like, but I didn't know who she was. So on the phone, she says, "You know, I quit drinking 2 years ago. But I didn't know this was the same one I seen just drunk, I think Saturday. Just drunker than a skunk," and you know. So anyway, that Monday, she's calling me, "Hey, I didn't see my child for 2 years." Of course, I'm there to try to help. I said, "You know, I'll make you a scheduled visit for you for Thursday." Oh, she's all happy. So I scheduled a visit for her for Thursday. So anyway, I got our case aide to go and pick up the child. So anyway, I got a phone call from the front. "Hey, the mom is here already." "Okay, send her to the family room." So she goes, I guess she went in the family room. I said, "Call me when the child gets here." The case aide was there. They called me, the front desk called. So I go to the front and I go to the family room, and who do I see? That lady that, you know, I still remember her name. Like, you know, I looked at her, she looked at me, and then she starts crying. "You told me your name was Willie." And then and you told me you didn't drink. But I let her visit though, like, you know, it's you know, we're there to try to help people, like, you know, and but like Alan said, you know, they have to be ready to change, like, you know, we can't really force somebody to change. They'll only change when they're ready to change. But anyway, before we end, like I think I did some of this stuff when some people were here, so somebody might know the answer. Like I think we did this exercise. Just exercises, and what these do is sometimes when people have problems, they kind of think like this. They don't think like this, right? So sometimes people don't know what to do, and sometimes the answer is very, very simple. And or for example, gossip, right? Don't engage in gossip, like because we don't know if that's the truth or not. So before we end for today, we'll do some little exercises. So the question is: a biological father goes hunting with his son. An accident happens. The father is dead. The son is still alive. They rush him to the hospital. The doctor at the hospital says, "I cannot operate on my son." Who is this doctor? Okay, somebody tell me the answer. Do you know the answer? Okay, don't say anything. He knows the answer, but I think he was here before. We got a smart one over there. Okay, give me the answer. How many knew the answer? Okay, here's another one. You are driving your car, the street lights are out, your car lights are out, a man in black crosses the street. You stop and wait for him to cross. How did you see him? Anybody? Okay, he knows the answer, but don't say anything. Okay, somebody else tell me the answer. Okay, what's the answer? It was daytime. When I went to university, I had all these wrong. Like, they used to ask me, I had all of them wrong. But these are some of the things that I remember. Like psychology, right? When people have problems, you got to think about the problem. Sometimes the answer is very, very simple. So you run from home, and in a few feet you'll turn left. A few more feet, you turn left again. A few more feet, you turn left again. A few more feet, you run home. You get home, 2 masked men are waiting for you. Who are these masked men? Okay, you probably know the answer, right? He knows the answer because he was here last time. Okay, we had a good one over there, Spider-Man. Okay, here's the answer. Baseball ump and back catcher. You run from home, right? Home plate, right? And then a few feet you turn left, first base. A few more feet you turn left again, second base. A few more feet you turn left again, that's third base. A few more feet you run home. You get home, two masked men are waiting for you. Who are these masked men? Baseball ump and baseball catcher. They used to ask me all these things. We had a test at the university, but these are some of the things that I remember. It was aiming on psychology, and of course I used to get them wrong. But in the end, I did pass my grade, and I got my certificate in the end, my diploma. So, it's aiming on people having, problems. It's important to relax and to think about an answer, a good answer. It's important to think about your problems, because a lot of times, the answer is very, very simple. And like I said, there's all good people, all kinds, men and women. Old people are smart. I was telling this gentleman here that I used to go and see an elder just to visit him. So one time he told me there's going to be a flood here. I laughed at him. This was around 1999. And I laughed at him and I said, you're crazy. He said, you'll see. 2011, just like he said, there was his house was underwater. And that's exactly what he told me. So, never underestimate somebody. Some people are very, very intelligent. They may not look like it, but, some people are very smart. So we'll see you tomorrow. What time? I'll give it back to Joan, and I think maybe she might have some prizes here. But thank you for listening and bearing with me, and thank you very much, and I'll give you back to Joan. Thank you.
Like I say, we're going to have draws, 8 draws. Leonard and Grant, can you come up here? Sarah. Tomorrow we'll start at 10. Norman, 10. Tomorrow morning we'll start at 10. And there's fruit over there at the back if you want some. If you have this number, 853-6013, 6013, 6013. Right 853-6013, 6013. 6013. Going once. Going twice. Gone. 853-6010. 6010.